So my name's Danielle Bell. I am an Associate Director of Corporate Philanthropy here. Whoops, early. Okay. I have the honor of introducing our DonorPoint team. We couldn't make our workplace campaigns happen without the DonorPoint online giving platform and our team that makes it all happen. Here to discuss all things DonorPoint, I'm pleased to announce our next two speakers, Andrea Breslin and Jen Sharp. Let me just tell you a little bit about both of them. So Andrea Breslin is the Associate Director of Data and Electronic Giving. She heads United Way's electric platform operations, including workplace campaigns and special events. She is obsessed with geography and is currently learning every country's capital. Jen Sharp is the manager of data and electronic giving. Her and Andrea are responsible for all electronic workplace campaign setup, payroll reporting, and end of campaign year auditing. She spent nearly 2 decades in the corporate world, but always wanted to work for a nonprofit. Jen is so happy to be at United Way and has never been part of a more dedicated team. Fun facts about Jen. She's obsessed with all things Oprah from top to bottom and typically wants to celebrate her friends' birthdays more than they want to celebrate them themselves. Yes, for sure. I'm a witness to that as well. So help me, please welcome me and please join me in welcoming Andrea Breslin and Jen Sharp, our DonorPoint team here at United Way Greater Cleveland.
Thank you. You might not recognize me. I've changed my hair color, but it is I, Andrea. I would like to start the DonorPoint part of the presentation by acknowledging and thanking Ron Cass and Nikki Kraus, who are sitting at the back of the room. They are the creator and employees of DonorPoint, and they work so closely with us. And much like the workplace team couldn't do their work without us, we could not do our work without them. So just a small round of applause, please. So I'm here to present on DonorPoint, and I know many of you have used the platform before. So the question isn't so much what is it, but for those of you that don't know, it's what we run our electronic campaigns on. It's more what have we done since last year. And so our major improvements this year are we have moved it to a single page form. Previous years have had multiple click-throughs where you say next, next. Now it is a single scroll down. We've tested it with some outside people and our own employees, and the general consensus, it is simpler to navigate, and there's less fear that someone will accidentally think they made a pledge when they didn't, because you click once, submit, and you're done. So I will be doing a demo of it. We have streamlined reporting. I love data in all its forms, but I acknowledge that sometimes there's just too much. And so we have cleared up the back end to contain 5 reports, 6 if you have a special event with us. That's also an improvement. We now have a report so that ECMs and campaign leads can pull reports for their own special events. Obviously, the ADs historically have done that, and I have no doubt they will still be happy to assist, but some people are like, I just want to do it myself. Please let me do it myself. And so we have facilitated that this year. Thanks to Michelle, our head of workplace, we have added local and area-wide messaging. And the big difference there being the statistics that are included in the messaging. What is true of the Cleveland Geauga area is not necessarily true of national. And so we have the ability to segment those out for any of the campaigns that have people outside of the Cleveland Geauga footprint. Obviously not everyone does, but we got options. And then revamped planning documents. Emily, who I'm sure you guys have heard from or are going to, has done a terrific job redesigning them to make them more user-friendly and frankly aesthetic, which I realize is not the be-all end-all, but who doesn't like a little bit of aesthetics? So let me get to the page where we're going to do our demo. It's okay. You guys are just going to get to see a little bit of the back end, but okay. I've also passed out a campaign lead guide. It is sitting in front of you if you're interested. I don't think you're going to need to look at it to follow along, but you know, if you care to, it's there in front of you. So the login page is only for those who are using system generated passwords. Some campaigns use single sign-on, and I do have a slide after this talking about single sign-on. It's simpler for employees and more secure, but it does require a partnership with your IT team, so a little bit more lead time. But I personally am a huge fan of it. But if not, this is the login page. Once you've logged on, it will give you a welcome. Nope, don't want to save that password. The never part is not showing up on this page and it's confusing me really badly. Apologies. Does anyone know how to make this go away? I am trying to click that. Ooh. No. I'm like trying to. Sure. Yeah. Is this not touch sensitive?
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
And this, folks, is why we make a team.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
So if you were wondering, they say they're a team, but are they? Proof. So this is our sample page. Data Agents is not one of our actual campaigns, so no one needs to be concerned about privacy here. And I have decided to populate this page with authors, hearkening back to my undergrad years as an English major. We have logged in as Kurt Vonnegut, and it says, welcome, Kurt. The welcome is populated by the first name you provide in your employee file. All standard workplace campaigns contain an employee file where we receive information that we then use to create user accounts that populate this page so that each user's experience is specific to them. It has thank you for your gift last year of X dollars if they gave a gift last year, and if they chose not to, if they are new employees, that row doesn't display. So there's no danger of thank you for your gift last year of nothing, and then everyone thinks we're being horribly passive aggressive. If there is an ask amount, it will appear in the row after that, and we will see a demo of that. So just keep that in your head. We have our 6 payment methods via DonorPoint, and there's usually really pretty images associated with them. Payroll, credit card, ACH, check, direct bill, and stock. You are welcome to use as many or as few of those as you so choose. It is customized. Similarly, the number of paychecks for Kurt is 26. That is based off of the employee file, because we do know some places not everyone is paid the same frequency. So that populates off of how many times you as an individual are paid. So if Kurt would like to give $10 per pay, we just put in 10. The system will calculate 10 times 26 is $260. It works. The second option is divided equally across 26 pays. Some people have said before, isn't that the same as the first option? It is fundamentally the same, but it just depends on how you as an individual think about giving. Some people say, I want to give $5, $10, $20, $500 per pay. And some people say, I would like to give $500. I don't really care how much that is per pay, just $500, you do the math. So let's do that math real quick. We'll change it to 500. So that's $19.23 per pay. I'm pretty good at math. I wouldn't have known that off the top of my head. If you want to give only once, that is also an option down here. And now let's up it to $25. And it will be taken out of the first paycheck of the year. Once you have entered a dollar value, you see invest my gift come down below. The local United Way is populated here. So for me or you know, Kurt, it's United Way of Greater Cleveland, but if you have employees outside of the area, it will display their local United Way. We have modified the designation section, so you can click this box to designate your gift, and then a bar will populate. It is populated with United Way, our designation areas, other United Ways, and other nonprofit organizations. You can split it. So let's say economic mobility, we're gonna give, I'm gonna up that. We'll just give $10 to economic mobility, and then to split a gift, you click the plus sign. If you want to designate to another nonprofit organization, you click that button and a box will appear. This is, because there are so many nonprofit organizations, it is not a drop down that would cause the system to crash. It is a searchable text field. So as you type things, matches will come up. So if I type the word Spanish, Spanish American Committee, and the Hispanic Senior Center comes up, Kurt is a really big reader, so he would like to give to the Cleveland Kids Book Bank. That is not in our system currently, but it's okay. There's the option to don't see what you're looking for, click here to designate or to write it in. And so then I, as an individual, can type in the Cleveland Kids Book Bank, and then our donor records processing team will find the nonprofit and make sure the money gets to there. All we ask is if you put in a very common nonprofit like Salvation Army, you specify which one you're talking about. That can be a bit of an issue, but then we just contact the donor. Contact information, pretty standard stuff. The required fields have an asterisk next to them. Usually it's just first name, last name, and email. If you select a payment method that requires other ones, for example, if you say, I would like you to invoice me, then we're going to need an address. And so those become required then. And then at the bottom of the page, you can review your donation. And so Michelle and Kurt's name are at the bottom as contacts. And as campaign leads, you also have the option at the top of the page to view the dashboard. Only people with access to the back end will see this. So even though you see it, I super promise no one else will. So let's get that loaded. These are the 3 pages on the back end. The goal progress bar is entirely optional if your campaign would like one. There is the ability to show it on the front end as well if you're trying to motivate people. We have a summary of how many employees have responded out of how many. So this campaign has 35 people in it. A response rate, a average gift, high, low. The donation bar has everyone who has responded so far and all the solicited employees. So this is really useful if you want to enter a pledge on someone's behalf. You can just start typing in the name. So let's put in Oscar. Oscar Wilde's here, and we can enter a gift on his behalf. We also have the report page. And as I said, I'm pretty delighted about this. It's now 6 reports, and they all have some really pertinent information. We've done a lot to revamp the campaign visualization dashboard. And so here's a visual breakdown. We have up to 3 custom fields on the back end, which we call department, campaign level code, and functional level. We had to name them something, but you can put whatever you want in there. So for example, in my example, I've put what century the authors were based in and where they're from, and like, you know, are they poets? Are they satirists? But you will have probably normal things like marketing and sales, and you know, not everyone can populate their campaign with dead authors. So we'll meet you halfway. All our reports are exportable to Excel via the export button. These are pretty simple, but it's really handy for some of our larger reports like the full employee file. So this is everyone. It has information about what they've given, if they've responded, what department they're a part of, and you can just click this button and it exports it to an Excel document. Very useful if you want to do any data manipulation on your own part. The next thing I want to show you, and let's see if this will be cooperative. I'm gonna log in as someone else because I want to show you guys a pretty nifty feature. Kurt has access to everyone. He is the main campaign lead. But now I'm going to log in as Virginia Wolf using the very complicated and high-tech login of fake email 105 at emaildomain.com. And I will not tell you the password because I care about security. Oh, did I not type in the password right? Okay. Okay, let's try Gertrude then. You always have to have a backup in these cases. I wanted to ask the group if they knew which Gertrude, but I don't feel like there's a lot of famous Gertrudes who are authors. All right. The only one there is to my knowledge. Okay, and this time we know how to get rid of this. So it's fundamentally the same. Obviously, Gertrude has an ask amount, so we have this added line of, in this time of need, please consider a gift of. We will never add that to anyone. It is something your company decides if they would like to ask. Any company that does use it tends to do a percentage increase, like we would like to ask our employees to increase their gift by 5%, and then the DonorPoint team calculates that. Similarly, we are the ones who calculate what people gave last year just based off of United Way's record keeping system. Gertrude, and this is the thing I wanted to show you all, only has access to half the employees. We can segment people on the back end, so you don't have to have all or nothing. If you have anything competition based, you can, or perhaps you have 2 buildings, you can have someone who's in charge of just that one building. And so we had previously 7 responses. Gertrude can only see Paul Auster and T.S. Eliot's. Similarly, she's only going to be able to impersonate these people down here. We're going to complete a gift for Gabrielle Garcia Marquez, great author, highly recommend. Who knew you guys were going to learn about this and a book I like? So Mr. Gabriel Garcia Marquez gave nearly 4,000 last year. So he has called us and he has said, I like to give 4,500. Book sales are going well for him. We appreciate his generosity. And then we scroll down. Let's say he wants to split his gift between United Way. And both the percentage field and the dollar value are customizable, or that's how you can split it. So that's really nice for people who want a very specific amount to go to certain organizations versus a percentage. So he'll put his other amount to the 211 helpline. And then we scroll down. Keep in mind, Gertrude is currently impersonating Mr. Marquez. So whatever email address goes in this field, you can't get out of here without giving an email address. And that's because we have to send the receipt to someone. You can send it to yourself. You can send it to the person who you're impersonating. I'm going to enter mine because I'm the only real person here. I'd like to formally apologize to my colleague for implying they're not a real person. We have the final opportunity to review our gift. It's a payroll. We have the method down here. If someone chooses stock, many of our campaigns don't use stock, but if they do, there is a hyperlink embedded where they receive instructions on how to move forward with that gift. And then we hit submit. All right. Can I answer any questions about the online platform?
Will we have any time prior to our campaign to learn this and to format it? Or will we only get access at the beginning of our campaign?
Our goal is to have access at least a week out, given that the employee file is received on time. I don't think it's a reasonable expectation to have the form built and the employees in before this is up. Those are the 2 crucial steps before access can be granted. If you do have access a week out, which is the goal, there's not going to be information populated in there, but it can't hurt to get comfortable with it, right? So my answer to you is yes. And then formatting, I don't fully understand. Can you clarify?
We have some employees, for example, who get paid weekly, some every 2 weeks,
Mhm.
some twice a month. So all of that needs to be.
We do that.
You do that?
We do that.
So we need to have some piece of information that we need to give you with the employee file.
Yes,
When we get, because we're giving the employee file about 4 weeks before.
absolutely.
So we need to know what you need to know to put on this.
Yes. And
upfront.
your campaign account, what do you guys call yourself? I just call them ADs. Account managers. See, I don't even use the same letters. Your account manager will provide you an employee file template, which includes the fields we need. The one you're referencing is payroll. So every person is their own row. And then it'll say how many times they're paid so that it will reflect. I should have pointed this out more clearly, but in my example, Kurt Vonnegut was paid 26 times, Gertrude was only paid 24, and you saw that difference. And so we can absolutely do that, no problem.
Sorry about that. So the concept is you don't have to do anything if you want to give what you donated last year, correct?
I didn't go over rollover very much in this presentation because the majority of our campaigns don't do that. But a quick summary to anyone who doesn't know is some of our campaigns are rollover campaigns. And what that means is your company articulates to employees before the campaign even starts. We have two methods. Some companies choose to have employees opt into rollovers, which basically means I'm going to give a pledge and next year at the start of next year's campaign, just put me down for the same amount. So we have some campaigns that do opt-ins. And then we have some campaigns where it's a default. If you enrolled in payroll, recurring, you're in. And that is the company's discretion, and we articulate as such in the email message we send out. We populate the form with what people gave last year, and when you log in, it looks very much like the receipt page, and it says, you know, $500 to these organizations. Some organizations have designations follow. So last year I gave $500 to the Legal Aid Society. Some organizations say, yes, keep the Legal Aid Society. Some organizations say no, default to United Way. Every time we have a rollover campaign, every donor has the opportunity to log in and change their gift. It is not locked in. It is merely pre-populated so the donor has the opportunity to edit it. And if you opt not to edit it, it's a rollover, so it will be active and real. There is a report on here that has what's called pending amounts. And so those are people who have not confirmed whether or not they're going to keep their rollover. But yeah, very much specifically with your campaign, we populate it and then people have the opportunity to go in and change their gift, but it's not necessary. And if they do choose to go in, they will see where they gave last year, how much they gave last year, and they can just say, okay, or they can say edit. So it's pretty straightforward.
So where I'm a little foggy is if they, let's say I wanted to go in and just see what I donated last year, can I just come out and it'll automatically roll over, or does the fact that I went in to see it cause me to have to program it again?
I understand the question now. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
It does not default it back to zero. The amount is still in there.
Okay.
My hope is if you go in to look at it, you'll confirm that it's right. But if you just glance at it and press X, you don't do anything with it, the amount is still in there. And at the end,
And it'll roll
it will
over.
move to active. And when you're in there, you do have the opportunity to say, I decline to give if you want to remove the gift.
Okay.
But again, I emphasize this is for rollover campaigns, and no one will be surprised that their campaign is a rollover campaign. So
Okay.
not a concern for many people.
And Andrea, that's making sure that they're in the employee file.
Well, if they're not in the employee file, they won't even be able to log on. So it's a bit of a moot point. Yeah, that's a good clarifier though. We definitely need an employee file. Any other questions?
When an employee goes to give and they would like to select a specific location for giving, when you guys do the data and the research to confirm that you guys can give to that organization, is there a follow-up sent, or is there an email alert that says, hey, we can't find this, can you please reselect where you would like your gift to go?
That's a great question. I will say it is very rare for people to select non-qualifying 50C3s. If it's a 50C3, we'll take it. We are, the donor records team, of which I am a part, articulates to the account manager that it is not a qualifying nonprofit for follow-up with the donor.
Is this a app that can be used on a smartphone?
It is.
Ooh.
Fancy.
Ooh.
If you have a single sign-on campaign, this is a perfect transition. Thank you. What is SSO? Let's ponder this. Just an authentication method that improves security and user experience. We all have single sign-on. It's the 21st century, but not everything is a part of it. So if you elect to integrate DonorPoint into your single sign-on, once, like for example, if I were to log on to single sign-on to get into my SharePoint account, which I have to do every single day, then if I go to DonorPoint, it's just gonna straight to the front page. If it's your first time of the day signing on to single sign-on, you'll have to sign on, but it's the same password you use for everything else. So no danger of forgetting what that password is. And so there's no need for login information to be provided to donors because people know how to log into their own computers. And so it's very user-friendly if you want to advertise the campaign in communal spaces for things like QR codes, because people can just click with their smartphone and it'll bring them to the page and they don't have to go digging in an email for a login. So that's part of the appeal of it. And no time spent on forgetting passwords. You know, it's up to you how much you want to help your own employees with forgotten passwords, but at the very least, I forgot my password and then moving them along to their account manager can be time consuming. And we do see a decrease in time spent with passwords when people opt for single sign-on. That being said, it gets better year over year. So, you know, it's a benefit, but maybe not the light and day benefit. I just really like it for mobility and the QR code. So I'm gonna move on to.
Can I ask a question? Thank you. Well, actually, I just want to point something out. For SSO, anybody who has SSO, just so you know, we want you to have SSO, but just so you know, if somebody is signed into the computer, we have this a lot with Clinic. If somebody is signed into, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but if somebody is signed into the computer at Clinic and then somebody else makes a gift on that computer, we have a lot of that sometimes, and we're like, uh-oh. So then we figure it out, but our brains hurt after. So just like if you warn your people, like, hey, log out. Yeah, so sometimes, you want me to tell on them? Because I will. I mean, I guess I could have said this up there.
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend it doesn't happen, but given the clinic size, it's really not the problem.
It's a little bit of a problem. Okay, I guess I could have said that all up here. Okay, so we just wanted to quickly go over, for anybody who's not aware, we have special events on DonorPoint as well. There are a lot of you taking advantage of that, but for anybody who doesn't know, we can do auctions, we can do raffles, we can do like voting contests, like cutest pet or who sang the best. We had something last year where we were doing, people could upload videos and then vote on who sang the best. Yeah, like a little virtual talent show. And then we also have like registrations. We have a lot of people who will do registrations or ticketing. That's free even. We can do that stuff on here too. So somebody I know that is a wonderful lady built this demo site for us a long time ago, and I'm gonna use it today. Maybe. Okay, so just an example. This is a catalog. So if your company has a lot of events, like the sewer district runs a lot of events, so we have a catalog that houses all the events that they're running. We can give you a QR code, you can scan it, you can come to this catalog and see every event that you guys are running at the time. In this case, we're running a raffle, a 50-50 raffle, a silent auction, and then a voting contest. So this is what the catalog will look like. You can house all your stuff here, and then it's just one QR code to get to everything. In this case, this is a 50-50 raffle. Sometimes we just do plain old raffles. We can pull the winners for you and give you the reporting. Andrea said that today, something that I didn't even know, but that we are allowing you guys to do a lot of reporting on special events. So we'll walk through that together, and if you guys can report it, that's amazing. We can do like a silent auction here and add this to my cart. I can bid on all of this stuff if I'd like and put everything in my cart and check out all at once. So long as everything's active. And then like a voting contest, like, so this could be, hey, I want to enter the contest. It's $10 to enter. And then also I want to vote on the contest. Like here's Nikki's dog or cat, or cat in your case. Here's Nikki's cat. I want to vote on it for $1. We've done this internally and it was cutthroat. There was like a lot of petitioning by one employee, really, I think. Yeah, Monica. But yeah, I highly recommend it. It worked out really well. And then you just check out like normal. But I want to also, if you are ever trying to explain to somebody in your company, like, hey, let's do some special events. We can give you this demo site so you guys can poke around in there and show them like what your options are. Obviously we can do a lot more than this. We've done cornhole tournaments and brackets. I don't know if we're allowed to mess with brackets anymore. Are they saying it's gambling or something? Okay, so not brackets and not squares. But there's like, if there's anything that you're interested in, we built that video situation. We didn't know we could do that, and then we built it. So if there's anything you're interested in, just bring it up to your account manager and they'll bring it to us and we'll talk it out and try to figure out how to do it. Any questions?
Can we get access to this before the campaign?
Yeah, of course. Now I can send it to you. I'll send it to you guys after this if you'd like.
Yeah, I would like.
I have your emails.
I'm in the book.
Hi. Angela, then Michelle? Or Michelle? Go ahead.
I just want to know how to get to the report. Well, how do you get to the report from this page?
Are you running your reports on your Jeans days?
I'm not running any reports. I didn't know we could do that on those special events.
This is a new thing.
It's very new, and currently the only way to access it is from the workplace campaign dashboard. There is not a dashboard attached to the special events page.
I got
it.
Oh, okay.
So it's while your campaign is live, you'll have a dashboard that will also show. So once your campaign's live, you'll also have a dashboard that will show your special events. So once we launch your campaign, we'll go through it together because it's brand new. So
Okay.
you and I will both learn at the same time.
Oh, that's scary.
But that was something that we heard about, like, you don't want to, I mean, we're pretty quick, but if you don't want to wait on us, or if you want to be more sufficient yourself, then we're trying to build it in. So we'll go through it together.
Okay.
But she's saying until you guys are live, you're not gonna see that.
Okay.
So you're like year-round stuff.
Okay.
You're just gonna have to wait on me.
That's fine. I can wait.
Michelle.
So if I work for a company that we don't do our pledging on DonorPoint because my headquarters is in a different state, and so we run it through that United Way, or I have a third-party vendor to do the pledging, right? Can I still do events on DonorPoint?
Yes. We have a pretty big bank that does that, that doesn't run through DonorPoint, but does do special events with us. Like, not looking at anybody or anything, but yes, we have some people who do third-party campaigns, meaning they aren't running on DonorPoint, but we do host their special events for them. So, and then we have some people who use, like, they're doing Family Feud or something different that we're not doing on DonorPoint, but we're a processor, so we're taking credit card donations from them. So we can kind of just, you can say, hey, here's our auction that we ran on something else, but we want to take payments through here. We've done that also.
Is there a way to aggregate a donation along with participation in events so that a person will get the sum total of all of their giving on one shot? I don't think that we've been able to do
It
that.
does not do that right now because they kind of live in separate areas right now. We could
combine transaction details.
I was thinking like I could do an X lookup or something and put them together, but they would have to, because we don't require user accounts for events. Sometimes people will use their like personal emails or something that they didn't use on their workplace campaign. So matching them up is kind of difficult for me. But if they use the same email, I can usually match them up, no problem, and say, hey, Bill Smith, hopefully not Bill Smith, something like way harder than that. Frederico Smith gave this much via both of these. Like, I could aggregate them for you, or somebody in your data team might know how to do an X lookup, or you know how to do an X lookup and hook them up together. Uh-huh.
And do it from there as a combined report, but some of those transactions will be tax deductible because of information. Others not be. So it is another layer of start saying that there's a maximum value, and then anything over is going to be like auction. Never tax.
Is this like gambling or something? That's kind of why they live in separate places, and that's why you won't ever have a receipt with your workplace pledge versus what you've bid on an auction. So, but yeah, if you're interested in saying like, hey, I want to see all of our company, our special events versus our workplace campaign, I can try to put that stuff together for you.
Hi. Can, say a company has an off-premise event, like a celebrity bartending event, can United Way come with the function for credit cards to that event? Michelle?
I can answer that. And we just had a conversation back here that I was going to talk to you about later. So for something like a celebrity bartending event, what we would do is set up essentially a peer-to-peer fundraising site. So like, I know KeyBank has their executives as bartenders, right? So we'd find the 5 or 6 of them that are bartending that night, get their picture. They'd each have their own place on the page. And then we would have table tents or something with the QR code that people could scan that with their phone. It would take that and be like, I want to vote for Chris. I want to vote for Susan, you know, and, you know, I'm going to tip Chris $5. I'm going to tip Susan 15, you know? And so I think that would be a really great, easy way to do credit card, tips for something like a celebrity bartending night or the the talent contest, right? Would be another thing that we could use what's essentially a peer-to-peer fundraising site for.
And it would include leaderboard. See how much that person's getting tipped.
The leaderboards are the best.
It's very encouraging. Yeah,
And PayPal and Venmo, Nikki said, not on the microphone.
Yeah, sorry.
That's why she said it.
And then just as a housekeeping thing, Andrea and I are just up to the gills in special events and love them. And but we do need some lead time on these suckers. So especially if it's something new where we're trying to figure out like how are we gonna pull this off? So the more lead time you can give us, the more we're so thankful. So
Do we have to sign a contract or something to get that started? And how much lead time? I mean, does your function have to talk with our technology and get through our firewalls, or is it just the link where we can go to once we set up? Like, how much is involved in that? You're not getting an HR file.
This is peer-to-peer stuff. Do you guys can you guys speak on that a little bit? Will you do the microphone? Thank you.
A peer-to-peer like that would be done as an open site. It wouldn't be a publicized URL except among your group. Especially if you think you're going to be doing it all over cell phones, there's no need to do any whitelisting or anything like that because people will be using their own personal email addresses, not their work emails, 99% of the time. And we're not doing a distribution, into your domain. So that is a quick, easy setup.
It's not technically hard. We do ask for a 4-week lead time for
Yeah.
special events. Can you repeat what you said?
Yes, you need they're requesting a 4-week lead time for special events because not only do they need to set up the catalog the first time or the form the first time that will be used to host your special events, they also do a couple of rounds of internal testing and branding so that it all looks beautiful before they even show it to you. And then you would have a certain amount of time to test it before it goes live.
I just want to add real quick, on the lead time, we always want to say yes, but it is really important. You are looking at the entire DonorPoint team. And between now and December, we have more than 100 workplace campaigns that run on DonorPoint and all the work that they have to do to get the actual pledging sites up. And then we have hundreds of events on top of that. So, our job as the account managers is to say yes, but we really do need as much lead time as possible. And, if you've got 3 baskets in a basket raffle, that doesn't take a whole lot. If you've got 50 baskets and the pictures are all weird sizes and, the descriptions come in 3 at a time as opposed to all of them at one time, like it takes a lot. So, our job is to say yes. We want you to have the events. We'd love to host them on DonorPoint. But like I said, this is our team and they're working really hard.
I appreciate that. Anybody else? Cool. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to also say one more thing that Jen didn't mention. If you're interested in hosting a golf outing or a scramble as part of your executive and management special events, DonorPoint also supports that, and we have models for it. We've done it for several of the United Way client partners over the last couple of years. But I just wanted to give that a plug because people often look for, how do I manage my golf outing? There you go.
So I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Emily Brunkalla is our manager of donor experience. She assists donors through the giving process, as well as supports the entire fundraising team. So when you have a donor, I don't think we have any law firms here. Law firms are the ones that have the highest need. When they call and say, I can't figure out how to make my pledge, Emily does it for them, gets them on the phone, talks them through it. So she supports our whole fundraising team, special events, coordinating volunteer opportunities. She was an excellent spokesperson for United Way in our community. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Music from Baldwin-Wallace University. I tried to get her to play the French horn at the happy hour later, but she declined. In 2021, she was diagnosed with alopecia, and now she serves as now she's passionate about raising awareness for the autoimmune disease and advocating for treatment options and support for those newly diagnosed. She's a dual citizen of the United States and Germany. She's been to 17 countries and counting. She loves the arts, shopping, and all things pop culture. I also know she loves to travel. She loves Taylor Swift, and she loves to travel to Taylor Swift concerts. We hear about those a lot. Welcome, Emily.
Yes, please. If you're familiar, 1989 Taylor's version is coming out in October. Thank you, Michelle. Whether you're seasoned at running your United Way campaign or this is your first year and this whole day has been, what did I get myself into? I just want to impress upon you, our team here is to help you make your campaign a success. And I'm excited to share with some new tips, tricks, and tools that we have in our arsenal that we can share with you to help do that. So you may or may not are familiar with the first tool that I'm going to talk about. That's our Campaign Manager Toolkit and our frequently asked question page. So if you are familiar with our website, I did put it on here as well at unitedwaycleveland.org. Unfortunately, United Way of Greater Cincinnati took UWGC. So this is what we have. You're going to go to the Portals tab, go to Campaign Manager Portal, and around the mid-page, if you scroll down, it's going to look like what this screen is right here, where you're going to see our frequently asked questions page, as well as the link to the Campaign Manager Toolkit. The FAQ is a great place to start for a question where you're like, I am sure someone has asked this before, and you are right. You're not the first nor the last. Whether it has to do with how can employees make gifts, what type of payment methods are available on the DonorPoint website, or like my colleague Andrea mentioned, if someone was interested in donating via stock, you go, oh, I know you can do that, but how do I do that again? It's on the FAQ. Now, I'm happy to announce that the Campaign Manager Toolkit has a little bit of revamp this year. So what we did as an internal team during the summer is we went through all of the information, documents, and collateral that live on the toolkit and have reorganized them to make a little bit more easy for you guys when you're, in a time crunch looking for something. So we have tabs here that not only categorize the items by the timing. So you'll see here we have pre-campaign, kickoff, active campaign. We've put them in that order depending on where you are in the campaign timeline, as well as we put it for marketing materials and assets, videos right at the end there. So if there's something you just want to throw into a presentation, get something prepared quick, we tried to make it a little bit easier for you to find. Also, happy to announce too, there are more updates that are going on in the campaign toolkit. So as you guys work on getting your campaign set up throughout the fall, if you run a fall campaign, most of you do, then keep looking there. There will be new things, and I'm sure all of us will be happy to tell you where those things are once they're in there. So I'm very excited to flip to the next slide if I can. That would help me. Perfect. Awesome. So I'm very excited to announce something that we have for you guys this year. We have new campaign videos. I'm of the belief a picture paints 1,000 words. And if a picture paints 1,000 words, a video, it just says it all. That's all you really need sometimes. So our wonderful boss, Michelle, was the producer and director of this video. And I'm excited to premiere it today for you guys.
name is Kadira with United Way 211. How can I help you today?
Hi, this is Alicia, and I'm calling because I just received an eviction notice.
Last year, United Way 211 navigators answered more than 31,000 calls for housing and shelter needs in Cuyahoga County alone.
I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you for sharing. I can look up some resources in our database that might be able to assist you. Do you mind if I ask some questions that can help identify programs you might qualify for?
No, go ahead.
All right. What is your zip code and city you live in?
44105 in Cleveland.
Thank you. And can you tell me your age?
I'm 28.
Alrighty. Certain programs assist households with children. Do you have any minors in your home?
Yes, my daughter Sadie is 7.
Alright. And there are some special programs that assist veterans. Have you or anyone else in your home served in the military?
No.
Do you have any medical conditions or a disability?
No.
Have you experienced a recent hardship lately, like the loss of a job?
Yes, I lost my job because my childcare fell through.
I'm sorry to hear that. And so you fell behind on rent, correct?
Yep, that's right.
Last school year, more than 2,000 Greater Cleveland students experienced homelessness.
All right. Thank you for sharing this information with me. I really do appreciate that. Let me look through the database for housing resources first. It looks like you qualify for the Legal Aid Society's Right to Counsel program. They have lawyers who can represent you in eviction court for free. I can give you their phone number. I can also give you information on the Family Stability Initiative. They may be able to give you some financial assistance to pay back any rent. I'll give you their information too.
Last year, Right to Counsel Cleveland helped 90% of participants meet their housing goals.
That's wonderful. I didn't think anyone could help me. Thank you so much.
Of course, not a problem. Do you need information on childcare or employment resources?
That would be great. Thank you.
Alrighty, let's see what I can find for you.
Alicia was able to avoid eviction and pay her back rent thanks to Right to Counsel Cleveland and the Family Stability Initiative. Alicia and Sadie were able to stay in their home, and Sadie could continue learning with her friends in her neighborhood school. Sadie is now thriving in her new after-school program, and Alicia is receiving assistance with her job search. Families like Alicia and Sadie are helped every day through United Way 211, our programs, and our partners. One call can change a life.
Thank you so much.
The great news is, if you like that video, we actually have 2 more that are currently being produced as well. So once all of your employees are like, yeah, I've seen your video, you can pop in a new one and have some more stuff to show them. So really exciting new stuff to get for you guys. So while we're pulling that back up, I'm also very excited to announce our 2023 campaign theme. So as you all know, every year people say, oh, United Way, I know what that is. I know what they do. And if you really get to talking, they might not necessarily know what we're doing, as the work that we do is ever changing to meet the needs of our community. So in that same spirit, we've come up with a campaign theme this year to brand your campaign, to help you kind of understand the spirit of 2023. 2023's campaign theme, dun, 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 is greater for all. Oh, ooh. Because we believe that unity propels progress. Greater for All embodies our commitment here at United Way to foster a community where every individual thrives. Greater for All encapsulates that spirit and the spirit of collective impact, inspiring us all to join together to lift those around us from poverty to prosperity. It's a call to action, an invitation to contribute to United Way's tapestry of work that uplifts us all. When we are greater for all, we embark on a journey towards a more inclusive, resilient, and compassionate greater Cleveland, a community where the possibilities are truly greater for all. I wanted to end my short presentation today with a quote here. If you are familiar, this is a quote that we actually have painted on our second floor. So every day when we come in and out of work, we can't go by without seeing it. Life's persistent and most urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Obviously, when I look around this room and see the dedication of you guys to run your United Way campaigns, I don't believe anyone in this room would have trouble answering Dr. King's question. You have now survived the second portion of our day, so thank you. We're going to take a very short break here, a little bit shorter than what's scheduled, because we do have everyone in the room here for our next panel. So if you stay close, don't go too far. In around 10 minutes or so, we'll move on to our ECM panel discussion. Thank you.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It's been such a pleasure getting to know each and one of you guys. And so now I'm excited to introduce some of our panelists and get into this portion of the afternoon. I don't know about you all, but this is what I'm really looking forward to and excited to hear about. So my name is Stephanie Summers. I'm Associate Director of Corporate Philanthropy here at United Way. And I'm going to go through and introduce our panelists. Bear with me. These ladies have quite a bio and have a lot going on. So I'm going to read from my paper just to give proper introductions to make sure we give kudos to them and their experiences and connections to United Way. So first and foremost, we have Megan. She is the Benefits and Wellness Director of the Cleveland Cavaliers. She has served as an employee campaign manager for over 10 years, and her favorite part of the role is working with the campaign committee to plan fun and engaging special events. I already lost my train. Megan lives in Medina with her husband, TJ, and their two sons, Hunter and Grayson. She enjoys baking, walking, and spending time with her friends and family. So welcome, Megan. Thanks for being here. Next is Lori. She is the Director of Human Resources at the NRP Group. I have to say it slowly to get it right. She has served as the employee campaign manager since 2010. Her favorite part of the role is finding different ways to educate employees each year on the impact United Way has in the community. And she lives in Brecksville with her husband and two sons. Outside of work, you can find her watching her sons play football, basketball, and lacrosse, or probably taking them to and from practice instead. Volunteering in her community, cooking, gardening, reading, and planning her next travel adventure. So thank you for being here. Welcome. Next is Karen. She is the Senior Vice President in the Community Relations and Corporate Incentives Department at Key Bank. She has served as the National United Way Campaign Manager at Key Bank since 2009. In this role, Karen sets the strategy, implementation, and activation of nearly 40 annual campaigns across the United States, including Key's largest campaign with the United Way of Greater Cleveland. Her favorite part of the role is helping to educate and inspire teammates about the significant impact of collective giving and the confidence of giving through United Way. She lives in Broadview Heights with her husband, Bob, and 11-month-old puppy, Archie. Outside of Key, Karen serves as the chair of Cleveland State University Foundation and as a board member of Philanthropy Ohio. In her spare time, she paints, writes, enjoys relaxing with Bob and Archie, and a great glass of wine. Yeah. So don't we all? Thank you so much for being here, Karen. All right, next is going to be our moderator for the panel. Wait for your picture to pop up.
Oh, geez.
Give you appropriate introduction. Our moderator is Michelle Bosa. She's the Senior Director of Development here at United Way of Greater Cleveland. Michelle has more than 25 years of nonprofit management and fundraising experience. Prior to joining United Way of Greater Cleveland in 2021, she served as the Michigan Director of Philanthropy for the American Cancer Society. Her previous United Way experience includes leadership roles at the United Way of the National Capital Area in Washington, D.C., United Way of
Matsu
in Alaska, and as the Senior Director of Development here in Cleveland, she leads the corporate and community philanthropy teams. Michelle earned a Bachelor of Science in Photojournalism from Ohio University. Go Bobcats.
She's my other Bobcat.
I can say that here. A Master of Arts in Marketing Communication from the University of Hartford, and postgraduate certificates in nonprofit management and entrepreneurship. She earned the certificate in fundraising executive credential in 2010 And Michelle has served on the board of directors for the National Coast Guard, Mutual Assistance, Greater Palmer, Alaska Chamber of Commerce, and the Homeless Action Network of Detroit. Michelle and her husband, Steve, a retired Coast Guard officer, both grew up in North Olmsted and are excited to be back in Cleveland after 30 years of moving around the country. They have 2 adult sons, and when not working, you can find them on their sailboat or planning their next adventure. So thank you, Michelle, for being our moderator, and take it away.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thank you for all those introductions. I, echo what Sharon said. It is a little weird to sit there while somebody reads your bio, but thank you all for being here. We've heard over and over again, and I hope you knew this before today, how essential the role of employee campaign manager is to United Way, to the success of our organization. Can you each talk a little bit about how you came to serve as the ECM and what your favorite part of it is? And we're going to ask you guys to pass the microphone back and forth.
I was hoping to get out of a microphone, but so I have been running our campaign for about 10 years, but I joined the organization a little over 12 years ago. At the time, our HR manager was handling the campaign, and she was looking to pass it over to me to clear up a little more space on her plate. But she also felt it was a really good leadership opportunity for me as I was fairly early in my career, and also a really good way for me to get connected to others in the organization being a new team member. When I joined the organization, I was a benefits coordinator. I worked mostly with new team members, but this was a really good opportunity for me to get to know and work with some of the more senior leaders in our organization. So I've been handling the campaign for 10 years, and I'm actually now looking to pass it on to my current benefits coordinator now. So when she watches this, Brittany, watch out. And my favorite part of the being a campaign manager is just seeing the very best in our workforce and our team members, seeing them be so willing to participate in a fundraising campaign like this to benefit Greater Cleveland, where we all work and where many of us live. It's really amazing, especially to see our younger workforce just accept that, an employee pledge is just part of our culture. It's just what you do. It's not, you're not thinking of, well, this means I'm not going to get to go out every Saturday, or this means that, I'm going to have to not go to lunch 3 times a week. It's just, it's helping those who are in more need in our community. And it's just really nice to see that from our younger workforce.
So I've been doing the NRP campaign since 2010. I inherited it when I started back at NRP. The woman that I replaced was doing it previously, so that's how I got roped into it. And it's been easy. There's been a couple of times that I've thought, okay, should I be passing this along, things along those lines. And, every account manager, Danielle's our current one, every account manager that I've worked with just continues to make it easy. So that's where that partnership and utilizing our resources at United Way, they take a lot of that heavy lifting off of my plate as well, to make it where this is just something fun. It's a little bit outside of my norm. I'm working with employees in a different capacity. We've, as NRP has grown, I'm working with a lot of the new hires and getting to know them. So that's what I've really enjoyed, is getting to work with new employees and finding different ways to engage our workforce as we've grown and we've brought in new employees.
Hi. I have managed Keys campaign since 2009, and how I got it. So I left the company for 2.5 years, and when I came back, all of a sudden I got the job, but to manage the campaign. But in all honesty, the gal that was doing it for Key for many, many, many years was doing the campaign management over and above her regular job, like many of you do, right? Well, she became very, 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 very passionate about United Way, like many of us do, and started doing more for United Way than for Key Bank. And unfortunately, she lost her job. So when they were asking me, okay, Karen, we want you to do this, we had them write it into my job description so that when I became passionate about United Way, as I am, I wouldn't lose my job. So that's how I got it. I would say what I like best is that I really feel like part of the United Way family. I don't feel like, okay, I do this for how many months? 6 months out of the year.
Only 6?
Only 6. I feel like I can call United Way anytime. I could call Michelle anytime about anything. And before her, it was Calvin. And before him, I can't remember her name. But they've always been just super, super, super relationships. From the CEO, to the marketing and in between, and finance. I mean, it just feels like family. So that's my favorite part.
Oh, I feel like we're having an Oprah moment. Sorry, Jen. Jealous? So there are a lot of benefits to your role, and we see this with people we work with. Sometimes it's somebody who's looking to expand their role in the organization. Sometimes it's a younger or a mid-career professional getting some face time with executives that they might not otherwise interact with. I think we can talk about how great it is to be an ECM for a long time. But I'm going to ask a tougher question again, because I'm having an Oprah moment, right? What's something you've struggled with, and how has United Way been able to support you in your campaign? What are your challenges, and how can we help, and how have we helped?
I have the mic, so I'll go first. And actually, this is very, very recent. So last year, we got new legal counsel at Key, and in looking through the guidelines from the Attorney General of the state of Ohio, it was determined that we could no longer, one of our big things at Key for fundraising was a car raffle. We had done that for I don't know how long. And so they determined that we were not allowed to do that anymore. We were not allowed to fundraise and take money for a chance to win a car or a cash prize, right? So they determined that was gambling. However, they let us go ahead last year with all our other activities that were just as much a chance. This year, they've said, no, we can't do any raffles, basket raffles, anything that is a chance. We can do silent auctions where people, the highest bidder wins. They know what they're paying. They know they're going to win. But if it has a chance, we can't do it. So this year, I called Michelle. I'm like, Michelle, we have to do fundraising. How can we do it?
You usually don't call me and say, could you call me back right away? And I was like, uh-oh.
And so, with a lot of trepidation, because we've always managed our campaign ourselves, we're letting United Way in finally to help us, and we're going to use this DonorPoint platform for our fundraising, and that's why I had so many questions over there when I came in. But so they help a lot, and if anytime challenged, like everybody always says, so what does $1 do? What's the impact of $1? What's the impact of $5? What's the impact of $10? Even though you want to get away from that, United Way, and really talk about the two-pronged approach and the diminished state of poverty in Cleveland or greater Cleveland, the employees still want to know how many boxes of cereal is $1 going to buy. And so you can always call and get that information. And now everything's online. It's so easy. So yeah, that's how they've helped us.
So at NRP, we pride ourselves at providing 100% donation. Our leader does not ask how much people give. It's just knowing that everyone has given 100%. And so some of the struggles from that do come for a lot of the old time employees understand, again, it's just a rinse and repeat. It doesn't matter how much you're giving, just as long as we're giving. But newer employees are, why do I have to give? And so it's engaging them and really saying how important United Way is to the community. And so where I've utilized United Way is what we do is we've always got a big kickoff meeting, and we try to bring in somebody that, one of the nonprofits that's receiving, and can that pull at the heartstrings. And this was a couple of years ago, and I wrote everything down from Danielle, but we did the Alice exercise. I don't know if anyone has done that before with the Smarties. And so what that is you've got a roll of Smarties, and you go through, and it's looking at housing, food, transportation, childcare, healthcare, and technology. And you can put somewhere between 1 to 3 Smarties on each of the lines. Every item has to have at least 1, but you don't have enough Smarties to put 3 on everything. So you have to choose. And so when our employees went through that exercise, it was just amazing seeing the light bulbs pop of, oh, okay, again, and Sharon went through how many people are living paycheck to paycheck, and that might not be people in the room. It might not be, a lot of the people that are making those donations, but when they're faced with that crisis, or, I am living paycheck to paycheck, but I've been scraping by, so it hasn't hit me yet. It was just amazing, the donations that came in after that experience.
Yeah, we reconfigured that a little bit during COVID. And I know we've done it at Rockwell as well. It's called a poverty simulator. And so we can actually do it electronically now. So you miss out on the candy, but we had 300 people, I think, online doing it at Rockwell, and we split everybody up into little chat rooms for discussion. I told Joseph I'd be more than happy to facilitate it, but he's got to put the people in the rooms because I can't do that's not my strength.
I think one of the biggest challenges that I've faced since I've taken over the campaign was just the pledge forms. Up to a couple years ago, we were still doing paper pledge forms, and we were soliciting from about 500 team members. And with our pledge forms, we do incentivize giving the minimum donation. And so there's a raffle at the end of the campaign. I'm not going to let my legal people talk to your legal people. But just tracking who made the minimum pledge donation from all these pledge forms and alphabetizing them and getting our payroll file ready. It was just a lot of administrative work during and after the campaign that we were having a really hard time just finding time to do. So when we moved over to doing our online pledges, freed up so much time, made things so much easier. So big shout out to DonorPoint, because we absolutely love it. And it's made things a lot easier. I think going forward, we may look at what special events we can do online as well. But aside from that, I'll also say just our account managers' assistance with communication and all of the resources available in the employer toolkit. It's really everything that we need. And there's very little required on our part in terms of being creative and getting messaging out. It's all really there for us to just push out so we can focus on other things related to our campaign. So I think that that's been the most help.
No, I don't need one. I have my Oprah microphone. I think you're right about the pledge forms. My first United Way campaign was 2004, and throughout most of my United Way career, for about 4 months of the year, I had boxes of pledge forms and boxes of campaign brochures in my trunk. And then my kids play hockey, and as they got bigger and the equipment got bigger and the pledge forms kept coming, and it's really nice to have that electronic option. So I know what you're talking about when you say, oh my gosh, we're alphabetizing pledge forms, and like we don't, sometimes it's like, it takes a while to get everybody together to get the DonorPoint up and running, but oh my gosh, it's so worth it. Megan, you mentioned special events a little bit. Can you talk about the importance of special events in your campaign?
Yeah, so most of our overall donation does come from pledges, but we try and do a lot of special events because we understand not everybody is able to pledge. But we want everyone to be able to participate in the campaign in some way. So we're in the position where we have a lot of really great internal resources and partnerships that we take full advantage of. So as I mentioned, we do incentivize making the minimum pledge so team members have an opportunity to win some large raffle prizes at the end of the year. Also, if you make the minimum pledge, you get time off. Our workforce has told us time and time again, time off is the best thing we can do for them. So we do make it a really good incentive to get a full day off. And then if we make our overall pledge goal, everyone in the company gets an afternoon off after our end of campaign meeting. I know, right? We have done over the years a lot of really fun events that everyone likes, and they're kind of regulars. Bake sales are always really easy and really popular. We've also done lunches or breakfast utilizing our internal catering partner with Airmark. They'll give us a deal, and we'll still charge team members a nominal fee for lunch or breakfast, but all of that goes towards our campaign. We've done a party on the plaza. If you've ever been to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, there's that grassy area between the field house and the field. Is it still Progressive Field?
Yeah.
Progressive Field. Thank you.
The stadium.
But we've done a party out there where we've done cornhole tournaments and had lunch brought in, and we do use our internal basketball courts for 3-on-3 tournaments or skills challenges. But the most popular event that makes us the most money from our special events, we do a clothing sale and a silent auction. So we work with our team admin. They order basketball players a lot of clothes and their families a lot of clothes. And we also have a team shop that sells a lot. But when we change branding, logos, colors, they can't sell that stuff anymore. So I get it all, and all of the extra stuff left over from players, it all comes to me. And I get boxes and boxes and boxes stacked up behind my desk until we set up a clothing sale. And we offer all of this stuff to our team members at a really deep discount. And people start asking me in the summer, when's the clothing sale? When are you going to do that clothing sale? Because they use it for holiday shopping. They take care of all of their holiday shopping at once. And it's really helpful for our campaign. Because it doesn't take a lot to convince someone to buy a $70 t-shirt for $5. They're going to buy multiple $5 t-shirts. And then our silent auction, again, we utilize our partnerships. So we have some really interesting partners that will donate items or experiences to us to use for our silent auction. So one year we raffled or we auctioned off a trip on the Goodyear blimp, or sometimes we'll have suites to Cavs games or even concerts that a team member wouldn't normally be able to purchase, but we'll offer them in the silent auction, and people can get them for relatively cheap for a suite. And it always, people get so excited about it, super competitive, and everyone really has a good time. So that's the biggest thing that people look forward to every year. And it's always a really good way to add additional funds up against what our team member pledges come out to be.
That's great. It's always fun to see these silent auction items. Think about it in your company. If you have a suite for Cavs, Browns, Guardians that, the executives use for entertaining, right? Or your sales people might use with their vendors. But I've worked a couple places that have had a suite, and you can't always fill it. So to pick a game or a concert or something and say, hey, winning bidder gets to sit in the suite for, Taylor Swift or, a Cavs game, that's not costing the company anything. They already have the suite, right? Another one that really jumped out at me was, I think it was 2 years ago, Eaton in their silent auction had use of the private jet. And the winner, it was a couple grand they paid, but they got to go places somewhere on the private jet. So that was another really cool thing. But there's also, like we've talked about basket raffles and things like that, where everybody in a department, each person brings in one thing and it makes a nice basket. It's not just the high dollar value things that make for a good event. Lori, you talked about your 100% participation. Anybody else jealous? Right? You talked a little bit about it, but could you talk a little bit more about what this does for your company culture? How did this become a priority? I mean, you must have had the first year you hit 100% participation, and how do you maintain that?
So it's tricky, and it's it's that education. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile. And when the employees understand, again, it's getting those new hires, employees that have been with us 5 years, they know. I don't have to, it's just they actually. A lot of the longtime employees argue, did I make the first donation? That's the competition that I get from that group. But where it comes from is, again, NRP, we build multifamily housing, affordable and market rate. And so what we do is we're giving back to the communities. We build a lot of beautiful properties that you have to fall within an income to live in, and it's an affordable income. We're looking at what standard of living is and taking in all of that. So a lot of our properties is, if we're going to a new market, we get a response of, can I live here? And we're turning people away because they're over income. So that's what we do. And we really have a passion for providing beautiful homes for people to live in. And so as that is part of what we do, it's easy to make that sell of what United Way is. United Way is the federated giving, and you might not know what the needs are of our community, but that's where United Way comes in. And you can do the education of what the pillars are and how it's getting out to a lot of different people, and people that you may not touch when you just give that one standard donation to one specific nonprofit. And so that's when you start that education, that's what's been ingrained in our culture of how can we give back. And there are a lot of people that I don't know what their needs are, but this is how I can help. And that's really, I think, how NRP and United Way have paired nicely together.
That's great. So does anybody, I'm not expecting an answer out loud. Think about, do you know what your participation rate was last year? I can tell you your account manager knows. So talk to them about it. And really, as you think about maybe not off the top of their heads, Caitlin, she's like, think about as you're moving into this year's campaign, think about setting a goal to increase your participation rate, 5%, 10%. What makes sense? We here at United Way have a United Way campaign. And we always set our goal at 100%. Frankly, we haven't reached it. But I don't want to set a goal any lower, realizing we're a little bit different. But think about, and we've got some spreadsheets that will calculate it out. We know what your average gift is at your company. If you increase by 5%, that's X number of gifts at this average. That's, it ends up being a lot of money, just a couple percent increase. So while we all could get 100%, but we're not expecting it right now. Think about what that would do to your overall goal if you could just increase your participation rates by a couple percent. And I know your account manager would be happy to work with you on that. We were just at KeyBank's kickoff with their team captains, and we'll get to that in a minute. And your goal is 85% participation this year?
Yeah, well, our stated goal to United Way is 75%, but to get to 75%, our goal to our team captains is 85%. Because if they get there,
Yep.
we'll get there.
Exactly. So Karen, KeyBank, as everybody knows, is large. They have lots of locations. You are nationwide. We've got a number of other companies here represented that are nationwide. Can you talk a little bit about your committee structure, how you sort of wrangle all the cats with your regional campaign and your local campaign, and how that all works?
Yeah, sure. So each year we raise around 3.5 million, I guess, total across the United States. It's been 4 million at some times, but now it's about 3.5. And so to do that, our biggest campaign is the Greater Cleveland Cuyahoga County campaign. We have about 4,800 employees. I'm always afraid to give an exact number because she's writing it down. And so
steel trap.
Yeah. In Cuyahoga County, right? So that's our biggest campaign. And that's why we do the 85% to our team captains. We have about 60 or so team captains, maybe 70. And then the other parts of the country. So how we organize this is our executive leadership team will select a senior vice president or an executive vice president that is a rising star in the company, but needs some education outside of their day job, right? About the community. So we have a 2-year rotation. It used to be a 3-year rotation, but during COVID, somebody was sneaky and they got it down to 2 years. I prefer a 3-year because you can really, by the time they become in their 3rd year, they really are ambassadors for United Way. So they start out as team captain chair for Cuyahoga County. They start out as our largest campaign and they are the team captain chair. And then in their 2nd year, they become chair of the overall campaign and our regional campaigns. We have about 35 or so, 38 regional campaigns. And what that means is wherever we have a retail market, so if KeyBank is in Toledo, Cincinnati, Albany, Syracuse, Buffalo, I mean, all over the place, wherever they are, Colorado, we have identified someone in that market to be the regional coordinator. So that person would be Lori, right, for that market, or me for that market. And then all of our markets, we give them an expectation of participation of 60%. The national average for a workplace campaign participation at United Way is actually somewhere around 30 to 35%. So we give them the expectation of 60 and they meet the national average, which is around 30 to 35. We also have in this core committee, so there's the 2 chairs, there's their admins who are extremely important to making the 2 chairs successful. And then we have myself, I'm the campaign manager. I keep the train going and make sure the action plan, we have an action plan with all milestones that we need to meet during the campaign. Make sure those are being met. We have an assistant campaign manager who really focuses on the technology piece to make sure our technology is working. And then we have communications, we have marketing, we have emerging professionals. We have our United Way representative. And then in Cuyahoga County, we have what we call site managers. So we have 2 large locations headquarters here at Key Tower, and then our operations facility out in Brooklyn. And we have a site coordinator at each of those facilities just to manage the communications and the in-person bake sales and that kind of thing. So that's really how we're organized. And then the year that, okay, so we have the first team captain chair, then the next year she'll become chair and we'll bring in a new team captain chair. And that way the chair really can help the next one when they're having panic attacks saying, how big is this? I have to do what?
I have to raise how much money?
I have to raise, yeah. And I haven't given you our goals for this year yet on dollars. So you
Maybe I got a
know,
pen.
I have to do that for you yet. But yeah, so that's how we manage it. And that action plan really is like our playbook Bible, because we go literally down the most minute thing you can think of. And if it's not green, you know, we can't get to the next one.
Thanks, Karen. You know, the team captains, I think, are key, especially for, no pun intended, for companies that have a number of locations, right? I also work with UH as one of the accounts that I personally manage, and you know, they've identified basically like a mini ECM at each one of the hospitals, right? That's in charge of making sure the campaign runs well. Because while there is, you know, the equivalent of Karen at their corporate level, she's not everywhere, right? And so, you know, think about that as you're putting your campaign together. First of all, you shouldn't have to do this alone. I know some of you are like a one-person campaign shop, so it's you and your United Way partner. But think about how you can incorporate other folks. You'd mentioned your emerging leaders. That's a great opportunity. If you have employee resource groups, is another great opportunity to get people involved. Like I know the emerging leaders at KeyBank have a celebrity bartending night that's pretty popular. They have the executives come and bartend and, you know, work for tips that come to United Way. But, you know, think about using your employee resource groups and challenging each one of them to have, you know, some kind of fundraising event. Or I know some of the companies I've worked with, you know, we have lunch and learns that we do. And instead of offering it up to the entire company and like, it's not that big a deal, you know, pick one employee resource group and say, hey, we'd love for you to come learn about this part of what United Way does. So when our CI team was here and they were talking about our strategic impact areas, we have like a 45-minute presentation that takes a deep dive into each one of those. So you can learn about, you know, health pathways for a little bit of time. So that's another opportunity to, you know, don't just think about your entire organization, think about those little pockets that really could be activated. How are we doing on time? Okay, great. Little soft shoot. No. I had a memory that I had forgotten I had when I was talking with UH. Back in my first United Way I worked at was in a little town that nobody had heard of at the time, and now everybody has, Wasilla, Alaska. I was the campaign director and then the executive director for the United Way in that community. And thinking about hospital campaigns, I remembered the CEO of the hospital was new. They had had a long-standing United Way campaign, but he walked in the door and he said, I'm going to make it better. Okay, game on, let's go, right? Hospitals, as you know, are 24-hour operations. He said, we've got this ice cream cart that you like push around. He's like, I'm gonna push around ice cream carts. We're gonna load it up with pledge forms. I'm gonna do every shift. So fast forward a couple weeks later, there I am at 2 a.m. in November in Alaska, in a hospital, pushing an ice cream cart with a CEO, handing out pledge forms, getting people to give. He donated the ice cream. People were paying. All the money was coming to United Way. It's kind of one of those like surreal, like what's going on here kind of events. So you guys all have some great experience. What's the weirdest thing you've done, or the most humorous thing you've done as a part of your United Way campaign?
I just have a question. Was it light out at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Not in November, no. It was
Been there.
2 o'clock in the afternoon was sort of dusk like in November.
Do you guys have one you want to go first? I have to
This is a
think about it.
curveball. We did like this whole prep call and now I'm just asking questions.
The
as they come.
weirdest thing.
there would be no curveball.
We all volunteered.
Oh, we've done a dunk tank.
Okay.
So we did a carnival with a dunk tank, and our who is our CEO now, he was not then, was in it, as well as Randy Payne, who's on the board of United Way. And that was a lot of fun, seeing people buy the balls to dunk their boss in the water. That was fun. I don't know if it was weird. I have to think about that.
Maybe weird isn't the right description. Unique, interesting.
So we don't do a lot of campaigns or anything along those lines. We're just pretty much Daniel attests this, we're a rinse and repeat. Like this is what we do. So prior to COVID, the CEO and I would make pancakes for everyone that this once we get to 100%. So that's so when I started doing this, I didn't have kids or anything else, and I didn't know how to make pancakes. So our CEO had to tell me how to make pancakes.
Well, your CEO taught you how to make pancakes. Now, see, if you were not the ECM, you would not have that. Yeah. Bonding experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's still like, I can't believe we didn't know how to make pancakes. But
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I was going to say our dunk tank too, because we did a dunk tank, and one of our senior leaders who he's one of the more intimidating senior leaders, did the dunk tank, which if you know him, that's not unusual, but he insisted on wearing a full suit when he was in the dunk tank, which everyone thought was a little weird. But another kind of unusual event that we do, and it's, when you hear it, you're like, people really like that. But we call them movie boards. We buy movie tickets, movie passes. We put a pair in an envelope and we write an amount on the back. So $2, $4, $6, $8, $10, all the way up to $14. And then we tape them amount side down on a poster board. And we walk around the office and people say, I'm going to pull 5 envelopes. And by saying that, by pulling an envelope, they commit to paying whatever's on the back. So you could get a pair of movie tickets for $2, or you could get a pair of movie tickets for $14, which isn't that great of a deal. And we would tell people, okay, there's only like 3 envelopes that are $2, but they all seem convinced that they were going to pull those $2 envelopes. But that is the thing that we haven't done it since the pandemic. We're going to bring it back this year. But that's the biggest question that I've gotten is, why aren't you doing movie boards anymore? You could go buy your own movie tickets, but people absolutely love it.
That's amazing. Creative thinking, movie boards, write that down, right? Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Thank you guys for being on this board. I really appreciate it. What would be some sound advice that you guys would give to emerging campaign leaders if you guys were on the other side of the table like us?
What did you wish you knew your first or second campaign?
Have fun with it and use your account manager.
Yeah, I would say don't try to change it immediately. If you want to make changes, that's good, but make them incrementally so that you're not overwhelmed and you're not getting too many surprises like, oh, I thought that would go a different way. So change is good, but just moderate it.
That's great advice.
Well, and I would also say, know your culture. Like what works for your environment? What pulls at your employees' heartstrings? That's, you know, you've got 3 different types of companies here. And, you know, NRP does not have the ability to pull, you know, all of the free things and stuff like that that the Cavs has. But again, what we do is what works for our employees and how does that engage each of them?
And I would just echo Michelle's response that, you don't have to do it alone. Get a committee together, get a co-manager, ask for help if you feel like you're overwhelmed, because if you have someone that's helping you, whether it be just sharing ideas or helping execute events or helping with communication and reminders on pledges, it's going to benefit your campaign. So don't be afraid to ask for help and try and get a group together to do it with you.
That's great. Great advice. I'll ask the panelists, do you have any final comments or advice to give to the folks here? Oh, I'm sorry.
So Megan, I was curious, it sounds like you do a lot of creative events. Which one is the most successful out of all of them? Like the t-shirt one, or what works the best for your team?
The clothing sale is definitely the one that brings in the most. It hasn't always been that way. We used to be able to rely on it for maybe $5,000, which in our total campaign isn't that much, but it's something people enjoy. But the past few years, I don't know if the guy that orders our team clothing made a mistake on his order or what it was, but the amount of stuff that he sent, socks of all things. I got 12 boxes of socks last year. And the thing is, they're all extra large socks.
Because they're basketball player socks.
All of the clothing is 2X and 3X tall pants. Sometimes I think people just buy it because it's kind of funny, but so much stuff. And then we've done some rebranding, and so our team shop couldn't sell some of the items they had. So in a normal year, we would get maybe 5,000 from the clothing sale. Last year, we got over 20,000 from the clothing sale. And this is selling socks for $1, t-shirts for $5, sweatshirts for $10, and we still made that much. So again, it is something that people look forward to. They love it.
I was going to say, yeah, next time you get 12 cases of socks, let us know. We'll send them out to everybody else. Be like, these are Cavs socks. You should sell them for your campaign.
They're more like leg warmers when you put them on,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean, they're $1. So yeah, how can you pass that
The
up?
heel is up here, right? That's amazing. Any final comments for this excited and motivated group? Oh, one more question.
So how do you guys go about keeping your teams motivated? We at the City of Cleveland, we have representatives from different departments, and we pretty much tap the same people every year. And I know sometimes people get burnt out. So, we're kind of limited on how we can say thank you because we're government. But any advice that you have keeping people motivated throughout the campaign, and even ways to thank them for doing something that's not in their job description?
As far as the motivation, I will say that there have been years where at the end of the campaign, we're a little short of our overall goal. And so we always do our end of campaign meeting and raffle. We all gather and everyone wants to know, did we make our goal? Because if we make our goal, everyone gets the afternoon off. So everyone starts asking me as soon as I walk in, did we make our goal? I'm like, I don't know, you have to wait and see. So if we didn't make our goal, I have to break the news to everyone. But then someone starts an email thread and says, I'm going to increase my pledge by $1 per.
I love this.
Administratively, it's a headache, but it works. They say, I'm going to increase my pledge by $1 per pay, or I'm going to go up to, I'm going to add an extra $200 to my pledge. And then someone wants to outdo that person. So they reply all. We are a reply all organization. So they reply all. Well, I'm going to go up $2 per pay. Well, then so-and-so says, well, I'm going to go up $500, or our team's going to collectively do an extra $1,000. So someone has to go through and adjust all the pledges. Well, actually, Stephanie did that last year for me, but go through and track all of this, but it always gets us across the finish line. Last year, we were like $2,000 shy of our overall goal, and we did that, and we ended up being 10,000 over, just because we're a competitive organization and everyone wants to be on that reply all thread saying, I'm increasing my pledge. But it really is motivation to those who didn't donate to say, oh, yeah, I should have done that. And so they quietly sneak in and say, oh, I didn't get my pledge in on time. So it's just a really good way to make it a little competitive, but also just encourage people that this is what we do, and, you know, get in on this reply all, and, you know, are you going to be the one that gets us over so that everyone gets the afternoon off? So that's always motivating for our workforce.
That's amazing.
I really use our executive leaders and their sponsorship. And, you know, again, are they thanking the people, or am I keeping them in the loop of what's going on? Because they need to know where we're at, when we're hitting the benchmarks, when we're not hitting the benchmarks. Again, if a department has gotten everything in and they're the first ones in, I make sure that those leaders know so that it can be celebrated, you know, and it's that's where we're a smaller campaign. It's really just me. So how can I make sure that leaders don't want to know how much people are donating, but like, how can I get information to them so that they can acknowledge it and give those kudoses? And it doesn't require a lot, but that does impact the employees, because again, they might not have that normal interaction with that leader.
Yeah, I would just add, from a motivational perspective for us, it's really getting the team captains the storytelling so that they can then tell the employees the why and the impact. So we have agency fairs where we bring in agencies to both of our sites. We have speakers on our team captain calls, whether it's an executive, usually an executive leadership team member will talk for 5 minutes about why they give, because people do want to, you know, impress their boss's boss.
That's great. I think we're probably getting close on time. I hope everybody's going to stick around. We're going up to the roof for happy hour. We have an amazing rooftop area. So please find one of these amazing ECMs. What we really hope to get from today was you to meet each other, right? To learn from each other, and not just the people sitting at the front of the room, but, you know, what works for your company. You know, we talk about it all the time in our offices, but and I know that some of you feel like this is sort of a single person endeavor because you don't have a committee, but know that besides your United Way, you know, person that you work with, you've got a whole group of folks here that we can all learn from. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed today. I hope we inspired you a little bit. I hope you learned a little bit. We'd like to keep the conversation going. You know, we have a campaign leader newsletter that we send out about every other month. So if you're not getting that, let us know. We put everybody's email address in, but you know, there's always something. But you know, we want to keep the conversation going, and we want you to know that you've got a whole team here. You each work one-on-one with somebody at United Way, but you have a whole team here to support you and here for your success, personally and professionally, and your campaign. So, you know, I hope this was time well spent. I know it was for our team. I just want to thank, hold on, my Oprah mic thing. I want to thank Emily, who was our project manager for this. We started talking about this months ago, and everybody on our team contributed to the success of today. But Emily was our project manager and kept the train's running on time, and we really appreciate that. And I, again, want to thank Ron and Nikki, who are here from DonorPoint, who sponsored our event as a nonprofit. I went to my boss and I said, I want to do this. He said, great. Where is it in the budget? And I said, well, let me see what I can do. So we really appreciate your support, both financially for this, but also the day-to-day. Ron is in our building at least once a week. This time of year, I meet with Ron and the DonorPoint team 3 times a week. You know, there really is, you know, personal support, and we really appreciate it. So thank you. I would like to invite you all to come with us to the 5th floor. When we did the renovation for this building, we renovated the first 3 floors. So when you get off the elevator, there's a little bit of a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air vibe. but we're going to go out to the outside, which is also updated. So thank you very much for coming, and we really appreciate it.